WIBTA for refusing to fund my stepmom's medical bills after she disowned me to inherit from my dad. So here's the backstory. My dad remarried when I was 12, about 5 years after my mum passed away. His new wife, Claire, wasn't exactly thrilled about me. She'd always made it clear I was a reminder of his old life and tried to keep her relationship with my dad separate from anything to do with me. I'd like to say we were civil, but honestly, Claire and I just never got along. I could tell she didn't want me around, and when I went off to college, she didn't make much of an effort to keep in touch. After college, I ended up getting a job abroad, which meant I saw even less of them. My dad and I stayed close, though, with regular calls and visits whenever I was back in the States. Claire and I had the occasional polite conversation, but that was about it. Fast forward to about 3 years ago, and my dad got really sick. I came back as often as I could to help him out, but Claire was always there, hovering and making things difficult. She made it clear that she was his primary caregiver, and I was just getting in the way. It hurt, but I brushed it off as her just being stressed over Dad's illness. Then, shortly before my dad passed, I found out he'd made changes to his will. I don't know the full details, but I do know that he left some things for me, sentimental items, things that were passed down in the family, and a chunk of his savings. Apparently, Claire was not happy about this. She insisted I didn't deserve anything because I wasn't around enough and didn't care for him like she did. I tried to ignore it and focus on spending time with Dad, but her comments stung. I don't think she could stand the idea that I was in his will at all. When my dad passed, everything changed. Claire cut me off almost immediately. She contested parts of the will and fought hard to get the majority of the estate for herself. At that point, I was grieving, and the last thing I wanted was a legal battle, so I didn't push back too hard. I figured as long as I had a few of Dad's things, I could move on. In the end, she pretty much inherited everything. I got a few of Dad's personal items and a small savings fund, but it was clear she'd managed to take most of what he'd intended for both of us. What really hurt, though, was that she made it clear she was disowning me. She literally told me to stay out of her life and that I didn't deserve any part of my dad's legacy. It felt like she was kicking me out of my dad's life for good. I was hurt and angry, but I just tried to focus on healing and remembering my dad for who he was, not what Claire had turned the situation into. Fast forward to now, and I recently got a message from Claire. It turns out she's dealing with some major medical issues and needs financial help. She reached out to me, saying she didn't have anyone else to turn to and that she needed help paying her medical bills. The irony was not lost on me. This was the same woman who disowned me and told me I didn't deserve to inherit anything from my dad. Now, suddenly, she's asking for my help. When I first read her message, I felt a weird mix of anger and pity. Part of me feels like I should just ignore her and let her deal with the consequences of her own actions. She made it clear she didn't want me in her life, so why should I swoop in now to save her? But then, there's this other part of me that feels guilty for even considering turning her away. She's sick, and I know my dad would want me to be compassionate, but I don't think he'd want me to be a doormat either. I haven't responded to her yet because I honestly don't know what to say. On one hand, I feel like helping her would just enable her to keep treating people like disposable objects. On the other hand, if I turn her away, would I be stooping to her level? I hate the idea of becoming bitter and resentful, but at the same time, I feel like I need to stand up for myself after everything she's put me through. Some of my friends think I'd be crazy to help her after everything she did, and they've told me not to let guilt cloud my judgment. But other people in my life, especially family, have reminded me that helping someone in need, even if they don't deserve it, is a sign of character. They've said things like, "You're better than her, and you know your dad would be proud of you for doing the right thing." But I don't know if I can stomach helping someone who has hurt me so deeply. So, WIBTA if I refuse to help her with her medical bills. I genuinely want to know if I'm letting my anger get in the way of doing the right thing here. I don't want to become bitter, but I also don't want to set myself on fire to keep someone warm, especially someone who's treated me so poorly. Update 1 month later. Hey everyone, thank you so much for all the advice and support. I didn't expect such an outpouring of responses, but reading through your comments really helped me gain perspective on this situation. I wanted to update you on what's happened over the last month. After a lot of thought, I decided to reach out to Claire, partly because I wanted closure, and partly because I felt I needed to hear her side before making a final decision. When we spoke, it was honestly a strange and emotional conversation. Claire seemed different, almost apologetic, which felt unusual compared to the woman I knew before. She explained that her health has severely declined and she's struggling to keep up with mounting medical expenses. Apparently, a lot of my dad's inheritance has gone toward these treatments, and now she's basically run out of funds. As we talked, I mentioned how painful it was when she contested my inheritance and cut me out. Claire didn't have much to say about that, though she did mumble something like, "I thought it was what he would have wanted." She said she was sorry if her actions hurt me, but she didn't elaborate much beyond that. I'm not sure if she truly regrets what happened or if she's just in survival mode right now, but I decided to let it slide, at least for now. After our conversation, I was still torn. She's in a terrible situation, and I don't wish illness on anyone. But at the same time, I can't forget how ruthlessly she treated me and the fact that she essentially kicked me out of my dad's life after he passed. She got everything, and now that she's in need, she's turning to me, the person she cast aside. I took some time to think it over and reached out to a few close friends for advice. I also went back and read a lot of your comments, especially those encouraging me to hold on to my boundaries. I realize now that my dad's memory and his legacy are more important to me than any guilt I might feel about Claire's situation. I've decided not to offer her financial support, but I did let her know about a few local resources and charities that might be able to assist her. Edit. I've gotten a few comments suggesting that maybe my dad didn't actually intend for Claire to have everything, and that she may have manipulated things at the end. I don't have any hard evidence of that, and my dad didn't leave a detailed will that would point to anything suspicious. I think he trusted Claire and assumed she'd care for me in his absence. That said, my choice is based on the person she became after he passed, not out of suspicion that she did anything underhanded. I'm focusing on protecting my well-being and honoring my dad's memory in a way that feels right to me. Update 2, 1 week later. Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a quick update since I've been processing a lot since my last post. So, after I decided not to help Claire financially and instead pointed her towards some resources, I thought that would be the end of it. I figured she'd be upset, but I wasn't prepared for how things went down after that. A few days ago, she sent me a message, basically laying into me for not helping. She told me I was being heartless and that I was punishing her for things that happened in the past. She accused me of being selfish and said that if I truly cared about my dad's memory, I'd help her out. Reading that message made me feel like I was back in the thick of the mess she caused after my dad died. It was as though she was completely disregarding my feelings, once again trying to make everything about her. I could feel the anger building up again, but I tried to stay calm when responding. I told her that I understood she's going through a tough time, but that my decision wasn't about punishing her. It was about setting healthy boundaries for myself. I reminded her that the way she treated me after my dad passed was hurtful, and it wasn't something I could just forget because she was now in a difficult situation. I didn't expect an apology, but I thought maybe she'd just leave me alone after that. Instead, she doubled down. She said that I was being spiteful and that I was a bad person for not offering to help family when they needed it. It really stung to hear her call me that, especially considering everything I've been through with her. At that point, I realized there was no winning with her. She wasn't asking for help because she needed it. She was asking because she felt entitled to it. After that exchange, I decided to block her on all platforms. I don't want to be dragged into any more drama or guilt tripping. I'm sticking to my decision, and I feel like it's the right thing for me. I know some people think I should just offer a little help or give her a chance to make things right, but after everything she's done, I don't think I can. She's shown me who she is, and at this point, I need to prioritize my mental health and emotional boundaries. Thanks again to everyone who has supported me through this. I'm feeling a lot more confident in my choice, even though it's been tough. I'll keep you all posted if anything changes. Edit. I've been getting a lot of comments asking if I've considered the emotional side of Claire's situation, especially since she's going through health issues. Trust me, I've thought about it a lot. I know it's hard, and part of me does feel bad for her. But I've learned over the years that people will take advantage of your kindness if you let them, and I can't let that happen anymore. My dad wouldn't want me to sacrifice my well-being for someone who disrespected me so deeply. Update 3, 3 weeks later. I wanted to give you all an update on what's happened over the last few weeks. I'm feeling a lot clearer about everything, and I think I'm finally at peace with my decision, so I thought I'd share the latest developments. After blocking Claire and cutting ties for the time being, things settled down for a bit. I didn't hear from her directly for almost 2 weeks, which was honestly a relief. I was able to focus on myself and get some much-needed space without the constant guilt trips and emotional manipulation. But then, about a week ago, I got an unexpected phone call. It was from Claire's sister, Sarah. I wasn't sure what to expect, but Sarah has always been a bit more reasonable than Claire, so I answered. She told me that Claire had been really struggling with her health, physically and emotionally, and that she was feeling really alone. Sarah said Claire was having a hard time coping with everything and that she regretted her actions towards me, especially the way she cut me out after Dad passed. I'll admit, I wasn't sure if I believed her, but it felt like Sarah was genuinely trying to convey that Claire was remorseful. I was hesitant, but I let Sarah talk. She explained that Claire was embarrassed about how she treated me and that she didn't know how to reach out without feeling like she was begging for forgiveness. I could hear the emotion in Sarah's voice, and it made me second-guess my decision. I've been dealing with a lot of guilt, trying to figure out if I made the right call. But hearing that Claire was in pain made me wonder if maybe I should reconsider. Maybe she really was sorry for how things went down. Sarah asked if I would be open to talking to Claire again, even if it was just to hear her out. To be honest, I was torn. Part of me still felt really hurt by how Claire had treated me, and I didn't want to just forget everything and let her back into my life without some accountability. But I also didn't want to close the door completely if there was a chance for some kind of resolution. I told Sarah I'd think about it, but I wasn't ready to make any decisions just yet. After some time, I decided I'd be willing to hear Claire out, but on my terms. I don't want to dive back into the same toxic dynamics where I feel manipulated or pressured. I need to have a clear boundary with her if I'm going to even consider being part of her life again. So I agreed to a phone call. I told Sarah to let Claire know I'd be open to listening, but that I needed her to be honest and take responsibility for the things she did. The call happened yesterday, and it was honestly a lot more civil than I expected. Claire apologized for how she treated me and for cutting me out when I was grieving. She admitted that she'd been selfish and that her actions were influenced by her own fears and insecurities. I don't think I've ever heard her be so vulnerable before. She said she was deeply sorry for the pain she caused me and that she wished things had gone differently between us. I wasn't expecting to feel much from it, but hearing her say that did give me some closure. I don't know if I fully believe everything she said, but I could tell she was being genuine about wanting to make amends. She didn't ask me for money or anything else this time, just for a chance to repair things. I told her I needed time to process it all and that I wasn't ready to let her back into my life just yet. I made it clear that if she wanted to continue rebuilding trust, it would take a lot of work, and I wasn't going to just forget the past. I don't know where this will go from here, but I'm open to the possibility of a healthier relationship, even if it's at a distance for now. I'm focusing on my own healing, and if she truly wants to change, she'll have to show that over time. For now, I'm going to continue with my boundaries and take things slow. I'm glad we could have the conversation, but I don't feel ready to jump back into anything. I'll keep you all updated if anything else comes up. Edit and clarification. I've had a lot of people ask if I'm still sticking to my decision of not helping financially. Yes, that hasn't changed. I'm still not comfortable offering any financial support, but I do feel like we're moving in the right direction towards some kind of understanding. Thanks again for all your help and advice. It's been really helpful during this whole process.